Ah, Smart Water, now in a sleek can.
This feels cool, literally.
Perfect for social gatherings and on the go.
Should I start wearing turtlenecks?
One sip at a time, friend. Smart Water cans, for those with a taste for taste. Get yours today.
Richard Nixon.
Well, I'm not a crook.
Ronald Reagan.
Tear down this wall.
George W. Bush.
I can hear you. The rest of the world hears you.
And Donald Trump.
And a friend of mine for a long time, he only likes politics. If you ask him about how are the Yankees doing, he has no interest. If you ask him almost anything, he likes politics, and he's a professional at the highest level. Roger Stone.
All of these presidents relied on one man to secure their seat in the Oval Office. That man is Roger Stone. This is the Roger Stone Show on 77 WABC.
Welcome back. This is Roger Stone, and this is the Roger Stone Show on 77 WABC, the crown jewel of AM radio. I am joined now by former Illinois Governor Rod Blagojevich, who has lived an interesting life, to say the least. He was the governor of Illinois, the first Democrat elected to that office in 26 years. He was also the first Illinois governor to be impeached. Later, he became known as federal prisoner number 40892-424 after being unjustly convicted of public corruption charges having to do with the U.S. Senate seat being vacated by Barack Obama when he became president. And we're going to talk about that in a moment. Rod Blagojevich is an American success story. Born to a blue-collar family in Chicago, Rod shined shoes, delivered pizzas, worked in a meatpacking plant when he was growing up. He worked for 2 summers for an Alaskan pipeline. Thanks to the sacrifice of his parents and his continued hard work, he attended and graduated Northwestern University, went on to get a law degree from Pepperdine University. He was an assistant state's attorney for Cook County, Illinois. He served in the State House as a state representative, and in 1996 he was elected to the U.S. Congress. He beat long odds to become the 40th governor of the state of Illinois. He was, as he pointed out to me the other day, not the favorite, waged a stunning comeback behind victory to win that race, and he had a historic term as a moderate Democrat without ever raising taxes on the on the working families of Illinois. He created historic access to affordable health care for all of the children of his state. He provided free mammograms and pap smear tests for tens of thousands of women who did not have health insurance. He established free public transportation for every senior citizen and disabled person in the state. And he relentlessly blocked his own party's attempts to raise taxes on the working families of Illinois. His political career came crashing down when he was falsely accused of selling the U.S. Senate seat that Barack Obama was vacating to become president of the United States. He went to trial twice, was not convicted the first time, was convicted in a secondary trial after impeachment, and was sentenced to 14 years in prison, of which he served an 8-year term before having that sentence commuted by President Donald Trump on February 18th of 2020. This past Monday, I believe it was, Rod Blagojevich received a full and unconditional presidential pardon. He is, as I said earlier, patient zero, victim zero in the weaponization of our criminal justice system. And beyond his extraordinary talents as a political communicator and an extraordinary record as a servant of the people as governor of Illinois, what I admire so much about Rod Blagojevich is, after that experience, he is not bitter, he is not angry, he is not damaged. He remains an optimist about our country. People ask him if he's a Republican or a Democrat. He says he's a Trumplicrat. I love that. I'm honored to have my good friend Rod Blagojevich join us now on the Roger Stone Show.
Hi, Roger. Thanks for having me.
It is a delight. It was a delight to be with you just a few days ago, and you still have that ability to inspire. I think I like telling the story of your trial even more than you do because it's very clear to me that Rod Blagojevich did nothing wrong. You were accused and caught red-handed in engaging in politics. Tell us about it.
Well, right. Thank you, Roger. And your introduction was really maybe the nicest introduction I've had in about 25 years. But no, I'm so grateful to President Trump for not only pulling me out of prison, which was a significant thing. It was the best gift my young daughters ever received in their life. Donald Trump gave them their father back, and he did it for a Democrat governor, and it did nothing to help his politics. It's just an example of President Trump as a person who sees things that are wrong and then he rights them, and also an indication of how kind-hearted he is. And you know that better than I do, Roger, because you've known him for so long. But it was calamity came on. Our calamity came on like a whirlwind when I was in the middle of my second term as governor, fighting the system in our state capital, the establishment. And, I learned a lot of hard lessons from that experience. And then when I was stuck in prison, I saw what they were doing to President Trump and what they did to me at the statewide level, to a Democratic governor. I like to say at the AAA level. They then were emboldened and began to do and have been doing to President Trump at the major league level to a Republican president. It's the biggest, single most, I think, greatest crisis that we've had in America, constitutional crisis, since the Civil War, the weaponization of prosecutions for political reasons, lawfare, the corruption of the criminal justice system for political purposes. And it's just among the many reasons why I'm so grateful as an American, grateful to my country for giving me the opportunity to live the American dream that you just talked about. So grateful and hopeful and optimistic because President Trump is president now. And this is a president who's not like most politicians. This is a president who is a problem solver, who is strong and tough and courageous and brave and dares to do things. And I believe the opportunity now to reform this corrupt system in the DOJ and the courts, I think, is right before us. And I believe President Trump's team is actively already involved in trying to reform a broken system, a weaponized system, a system that's stealing from the people their right to choose their leaders in elections that are free and fair. And let me just say this, just like you, Roger, I didn't do it. I didn't break a single law, and I wouldn't give in just like you. And when you don't give in, you fight back. And they're able to use unlawful standards to get convictions for things that are legal, routine, ordinary, and necessary, and that happen every day in government. When they can do that, like they did to me, and they know they're corrupt, they then send you to prison for 14 years because they want to bury you, and with it, the truth.
Well, Rod, in your case, and I've said this before, I see why they had to send you away because given your skills, your communicative skills, and your incredible record as governor, you would have been president. Yet you were the first governor in the country to endorse Barack Obama, and he repaid that political support with treachery. I never thought the case against you was legitimate or sound. I think you were railroaded for clearly political reasons. Yet you bore that hardship. You've talked about the fact that the only thing they let you bring into the prison with you was a Bible. And, I'm, like you, very busy in American politics. I'd spent some time with the Bible, but I never really had the chance to study it. I never had a chance to get through some of the more ponderous parts, the beginning and the creation, to some of the most important lessons. But I saw you talk to students last Friday very movingly about how your faith and how the Bible sustained you in that very dark place. Tell us about that.
Yes, Roger, thank you. I'm writing a book about my experience. It's a story that starts with one president, Obama, ends with another, Trump, and most of it's about a governor in prison with Crips and Bloods and gangster disciples and Sinaloa cartel drug dealers, even murderers. They put me in a higher security prison behind the razor wire for nearly 3 years. No governor's been there. They were squeezing me. And I was alone, and I was heartsick and missing my children, missing my wife, fearful for them because they were alone. I wasn't there to protect them or provide for them. And, it was a dark place in a real prison, like the kind you see in movies. And I reached for the Bible that my wife Patty gave me, the only thing they allowed me to bring into prison. And I no longer sought to read the Bible cover to cover. I would always get stuck in Genesis, just like you just said. But I went to something that immediately can help me. And because I was so desperate, I went to Psalms. I went to the 23rd Psalm first. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. And then I kept reading Psalms, and then I moved on to Proverbs, and then to Isaiah, and then Jeremiah, and then Micah, and then the Gospels, of course, and the letters of St. Paul, who wrote a lot of those from prison himself, and, of course, most of all, the greatest of them all, Jesus. And there he was in the Garden of Gethsemane on that fateful night, so afraid because he knew what was coming. He knew what he had to suffer, what he would have to endure. He's sweating, literally sweating blood. And he prays to his Father, Father, please lift this cup from me. And then he realizes, no, not what I want, but what you want. Your will be done. And then he heroically and suffered all the things you could possibly suffer. And, when I think about stories like that, and I would read the Bible over and over and over again, and I did it every day, Roger, because it was a companion. I was no longer alone. I could actually feel being closer to God by reading that Bible. And I did it every day for the 2,896 days that I was in prison. And the faith I had in God and the feeling that no matter how bad this was going to be, he was going to pull me through it, and that there would be a miracle somewhere, which eventually there was. And here's Donald Trump, who's the Republican president years later, after I've exhausted all my legal remedies and I can't get justice in the courts, and my old friend Obama passes me by. Incidentally, they wanted me to talk about him, those prosecutors, and I wouldn't do it because what we were discussing was political horse trading. But Obama sold me out to make a deal to protect himself. And then Donald Trump is the one who pulls me out. All the hand of God. There's no doubt in my mind it was a miracle. And so all I can tell you is that it was faith, hope, and love for my daughters and my wife that gave me the strength and the determination to endure, persevere, overcome, and one day make it back home on the miracle where President Trump became God's instrument and did what he did way back there in 2020 when he brought me home. And now again with this pardon. It is remarkable, Roger, and it's a miracle that I would do Donald Trump's television show, Celebrity Apprentice, a show that, I was busy being governor. I never watched it. I mean, it was a highly successful show, #1 rated show, but that he would actually give me a chance to be on his show when no one would do anything with me back then because I was a leper and I had a chance to, earn some money for my family. But better than that, he was so kind to me on that show. And then years later, he pulls me out of prison, which hurt him politically, didn't help him. And then now just the other day, last week, he pardons me. So, my relationship with Donald Trump, Roger, has been really him doing only great things for me. I don't feel like I've been worthy in the stuff that I've been trying to do to help him. But I think he's just great. I think he's going to be a great president. I truly think he's going to be one of the greatest presidents in American history because he's going to save our democracy and he's going to make America great. I truly believe that.
When we come back, I want to talk to Rod Blagojevich about whether that tape that we talked about earlier and whether Barack Obama's 302 interview with the FBI, which was never supplied to Rod Blagojevich's trial, will now finally be exposed and released by Attorney General Pam Bondi. We'll be right back with more of Rod Blagojevich here on The Roger Stone Show on 77 WABC, so don't touch that dial.
It's The Roger Stone Show on 77 WABC.
This episode is brought to you by Temptations Cat Treats. Your cat will come running for the perfectly irresistible Temptations Creamy Puree and Temptations Lickable Spoon Cat Treats. The best time to feed lickable cat treats to your cat is anytime. Feed by hand for a playful moment, in a bowl for a creamy treat, or as a topper to make mealtime fun. Visit TemptationsTreats.com to learn more.
Running a business comes with a lot of what-ifs. But luckily, there's a simple answer to them. Shopify. It's the commerce platform behind millions of businesses, including Thrive Cosmetics and Momofuku, and it'll help you with everything you need. From website design and marketing to boosting sales and expanding operations, Shopify can get the job done and make your dream a reality. Turn those what ifs into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
Fellas, you know Degree Cool Rush deodorant, right? Well, last year they changed the formula, and guys were mad about it. One dude even started a petition. So guess what? Degree heard us, admitted they messed up, and brought the original Cool Rush scent back exactly how it was. And it's in Walmart, Target, and other stores now for under $4. So grab some and remember why its cool, crisp, and fresh scent made it the #1 men's antiperspirant for the last decade. Degree Cool Rush is back, and it smells like victory for all of us.
In golf, precision is everything, on and off the course. PGA of America chose advanced 5G solutions from T-Mobile for Business for smooth operations and seamless transactions. Together, we enhance ticketing and concessions for better fan experiences from gate to green. This is pro-level efficiency. This is PGA of America with T-Mobile for Business. Take your business further at T-Mobile.com/now.
It's the Roger Stone Show on 77 WABC.
And we're back, folks. We're talking to Rod Blagojevich, the former governor of Illinois, who got the very good news that he received a full and unconditional pardon. Let's address that question real quickly. During your trial and during your second trial and your appeals, the government steadfastly refused to play the audio tapes of wiretaps that I think were obtained illegally against you, as well as refusing to turn over President Barack Obama's 302 interview with the FBI. Are you hopeful now that Pam Bondi, the new Attorney General, will release these documents, which would further clear your name?
I think she's a great attorney general already. It's only been a few weeks. I think she's going to be a great attorney general. I think Kash Patel is going to be a great FBI director. They have made it clear that they intend to reform the Department of Justice and take the politics out of it. And if they can do that, and I believe they will, they're going to literally save our democracy. The threat to democracy was never Donald Trump. The threat to democracy has always been these weaponized prosecutors who today's Democratic Party have adopted as sort of a political allies and political instruments for their Democratic agenda. And no party should do that to anybody. Republicans shouldn't do it to Democrats. Democrats shouldn't do it to Republicans, because what they're doing is they're stealing from the people their right to choose their leaders in elections that are free and fair. They're actually undermining our freedom. And this is the kind of politics of KGB Soviet-style police state politics that has no place in America. So Pam Bondi and Kash Patel are the right people. They've already discussed efforts to do this. I think they're going to do great. I think my case can be helpful in this effort. The way they cheat and lie and cover things up. 98% of the FBI tapes that they made, Roger, are covered up to this day. It have been covered up since the very beginning. They took snippets of conversations, 2% of them, out of context, used them publicly, which was illegal, and then used them in court against me and wouldn't allow me to have the tapes and the rest of those conversations to fill out the context. So they took things out of context. Now, even that, they didn't prove up any crimes. But the fact that those tapes are covered up, the potential, I think, to lift that gag order, I think would be very helpful and show just how this guy, Patrick Fitzgerald, lied on the day he had me arrested, saying he was, quote-unquote, stopping a crime spree before it happened, when the day before and the days and weeks before, it was clear that I was about to make a political deal for health care for more people, a public works program that would create tens of thousands of jobs, and a written promise that the Democrats, my party, wouldn't override my veto on an income tax increase. That's what happened, and they arrested me the morning after. Rahm Emanuel was going to be the go-between to make it happen. So if they play those tapes, that stuff will be revealed, and they will be exposed as being liars and being corrupt. Will Pam Bondi or Kash Patel or the new DOJ do something like that? I don't know. Maybe the Republicans in the Congress together with the Department of Justice might. I think it would be helpful to show and expose just how corrupt and dirty they have become. And, I have to still believe, Roger, that most men and women in the Department of Justice are well-intentioned. But, when you're in prison for 8 years, one positive is you can catch up on your reading. And believe it or not, I actually read some Shakespeare, and Shakespeare, Henry VI, there's the famous line that says the first thing we do is let's kill all the lawyers. That line is misused and taken out of context as a line to attack lawyers. But what Shakespeare meant in that play was that if you want to destroy the freedoms of the people, the first thing you do is you destroy the rule of law, which is what protects the people from the power. And what you do to destroy the rule of law is you kill the lawyers because they're the ones who are the guardians of the rule of law. And these prosecutors who've corrupted themselves and have abused their power are destroying the rule of law. And hopefully now, with this new day, there's an opportunity for that to change. And I think my case can be really instructional across the board, covering up FBI tapes, 98% of them, and covering up President Obama's 302s. He was interviewed by the FBI a day or two after I was arrested. His public statements contradicted the star witness against me. What do his 302s say? Those are FBI interviews. And the defense, me, has a right to have those to prepare my defense against the false accusations against me. And to this day, we still can't get those 302s. And the appellate courts have whitewashed and protected Obama. So, will that be revealed? That remains to be seen. But I think all of it should be exposed. We're supposedly a free society. And if you believe the truth is on your side, here's the great irony. The side that's covering up the truth is the side that's lying. And the side that keeps saying, play the truth, play more of the truth and all of the truth, that's the side that's telling the truth.
Politics is always about the future, never the past. I think Richard Nixon, my mentor, who you've admitted someone you admire for his persistence, his resilience, always said, look forward, never look back. I've been out with you in Chicago, and I've seen how the people love you. There is today a groundswell of Chicagoans who want you to run for mayor because that city, once known as a city that works, is literally falling apart. But interestingly enough, the political establishment in Illinois, particularly the Democrats, are so concerned about the popularity of Rod Blagojevich that they specifically passed a law that said that any convicted felon may run for state or local office unless that convicted felon is named Rod Blagojevich, in which case you can't. That seems to me to be not only unconstitutional, but outrageous. What say you?
I agree. It is unconstitutional. It has to be. And it's breaking with the precedent that exists here in Illinois and in Chicago. Roger, we have a Chicago alderman who was a convicted bank robber. And he was convicted of a bank robbery back in the mid-1990s. And a few years after he got out of prison, he decided to run for the Chicago City Council, and he won. Now, he's actually a pretty good alderman. But the fact is that if a bank robber can run, how come I can't when all I'm talking about is political deals in conversations that were initiated by then President-elect Obama? So it's very unconstitutional. And again, it's as if it's just what's happened in our country, I think, and what's happened too much with our leaders and our elected officials is they allow their partisan political priorities too often to overcome certain things that should be sacred in our society. And that's why our country correctly has lost trust with our institutions, certainly with politicians, and that's been true probably for the longest time. But with the media and with some of the Wall Street and with Silicon Valley and all these other places where the elites control things, the people get it. And they understand that you can't really believe or trust them anymore. And when they do things like this, identify me only and deny me the right to run, but even worse, deny the people of Illinois and the people of Chicago to either vote for me or vote against me. You see, that's wrong. And they're forgetting the responsibility in democracy that, the people hire us and we're supposed to work for them. And they're the ones who have the right to make these decisions, not politicians and certainly not prosecutors. So, no, I'd like to see it lifted. I'm not saying that I would necessarily run for office, Roger. I have personal issues, a loving wife who's devoted and faithful and has done a wonderful job raising our daughters when I was away. And she's made it clear, my wife, they've suffered because of the career that I've chosen. My wife, Patty, has said, Roger, that if I run for office again, I'll have to do that with my second wife. But I do think, whether I run for anything or not, that law should be reversed. because it's a dangerous precedent. I mean, they start with me. Now they're going to pass a law and say Donald Trump can't run for office, or J.D. Vance, or whoever has the power. They then start passing laws where they identify one individual and say they can't run. I mean, that is so clearly, totalitarian type politics that has no place in America.
It is absolutely anti-democratic. All right, our last question. I've seen in the international press how revered you are in Serbia. You are by far probably the most famous Serbian American in the world, perhaps. Certainly the most famous Serbian American in politics. You're beloved in the country of your people. And there's some speculation that you might be interested in serving as ambassador. What say you?
Well, there's been some published reports and media coverage that that's a possibility. I haven't asked President Trump for that at all. And I was in Serbia last week, and I had a chance to see the economic miracle that's taking place in the homeland, the land that my father came from. President Vučić there is sort of like he reminds me a lot of President Trump. He's a real strong leader. He's very determined to get things done. He's presided over an economic miracle where the GDP in Serbia is the second highest in Europe this past year. Real wages for working people have gone up 270% there. It was a country that was bombed, Serbia, by the United States and NATO without UN approval back in 1999. The same thing we did to Serbia is what Russia's done to Ukraine. And then they took part of the country away from the Serbs. The Serbians and the Serbian people love America in spite of it all. In both world wars, Serbia was on the side of the United States, and yet Bill Clinton and Joe Biden, who was a war hawk back then as a senator, ignored all of that and decided to bomb a Christian country to pursue whatever their priorities were unlawfully. It was certainly a violation of international law. And yet the Serbs are rebuilding under President Vučić. It's an economic miracle, really. And they're building a beautiful waterfront along the Sava River. They're going to have the World's Fair in 2 years. So I'm really proud of the Serbs in my father's homeland and the place my father came from for the great recovery. And it's really a story that's kind of inspirational and an example to any of us who find ourselves down and out, that you don't have to just take it, never quit, pick yourself up and come back. And just as it is with individuals, nations do that too. And the Serbian nation is making a great comeback under President Vučić. And I hope that our country, the United States, and Serbia can develop stronger ties and develop a strategic partnership, because it is in our interests, because Serbia is the most prominent country in the Balkans, to have better relations there. I see Serbia, Roger, as sort of what Serbia could be to the United States and the Balkans is what Israel is to the United States and the Middle East.
All right, we have to leave it there. You can follow Rod Blagojevich at Real Blagojevich on X. Thank you, Governor, for joining us. And folks, hang on, because Joe Piscopo will be right along with Sundays with Sinatra.